welcome back to another episode of the Go BYO podcast. Today is part one of a special series in part with Sheridan County Chamber of Commerce and Manufacturing Works in recognition of National Manufacturing Day, which is October 1st, but we're going to be kind of doing these series throughout the month. And today we've got special guests from the Sheridan community, business leaders and businesses in our county. And on the right, we've got Nadine, Gale, owner of Alphagraphics of Sheridan. They're closing on a new property, so that's exciting. We've got Chris Jackson, right, general manager of Craftco. And then we have the VP of Engineering, Nate Williams of Kennon, who also just got into their new building on the north end of Sheridan. So thank all three of you for coming, and thanks for coming early a little bit. I'm excited to hear your guys' thoughts on our first topic, which is why manufacturing, success and opportunity in manufacturing careers. So thanks for all stopping by.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
You're welcome.
So the first thing I think, let's start with this. I think we were talking about it right before we started. What is manufacturing to you three? And then what, why is manufacturing important? And then we'll get into kind of the other topics there. But what is manufacturing? You know, we've got a general manager, we've got an engineer, and then we've got kind of the marketing side, what Alphagraphics does. So whoever wants to take that one first.
Oh, I guess I'll start.
Go, Nadine.
Well, I don't know what the technical term for manufacturing would be but for me, it's utilizing equipment to make a product. And most of the time I would consider it to be like mass produced, not something that you're making one at a time or handmade type of things, although there is quite a bit of hand crafting in manufacturing also. But I think that when you think about using equipment or tools, usually automated type of equipment is usually what I think about in manufacturing to produce a product. And the product could be, so for us, we're producing a lot of times for end users, printing collateral, signs, banners, things like that. I know Craftco, I think they produce products that sometimes are used in other products. And so sometimes it's an end-use product, sometimes it's not. But I think that manufacturing is quite a bit broader than what a lot of people think right off the bat. We have a lot of companies in town, and I think you're going to be talking to some of these people, but some of your distillers, that's manufacturing. Brewers, that's manufacturing. Coffee companies that are using machines to roast coffee and bag them, that's manufacturing. So it sometimes can be really huge stuff where you're welding and machining, but I think it can also sometimes be a little bit more craft type of product.
Sure. Chris or Nate, anything to add on that too, or expand on?
That's tough to follow that up. I think Nadine really hit it on the head. It's essentially taking raw materials and converting it into a product. Mm-hmm. Whether that product is coffee beans, a liquor, print material, covers for aircraft in our case, heavy steel, different metals, materials. So it's a very broad range. I mean, typically, folks think of light manufacturing and it's a product at the end of the day. And, to Nadine's example, that product can vary very widely. So.
Yeah. And like Craftco, we were just talking about, you guys helped build a trailer or kind of like an off-road trailer, right, Chris? Or
okay.
Yeah. So that's kind of an example of it's, was that all Craftco or was
yes,
it?
It was.
Yeah. So you guys made a full on the whole thing product.
Exactly. As I explained, that's where Jeff is right now, showcasing that through the southern part of the states. But he designed and developed, and through our team, we've totally in-house within Craftco manufactured an overland trailer. So
that's awesome.
And as Nadine said, manufacturing, it's usually repeatable work, normally in quantities, very vast, as we talked about. And the machining, I think, to be competitive and to be able to produce those in a timely fashion has to be considered in that. So,
yeah, awesome. And that leads us in kind of to, how do you be competitive? What do the skill sets look like that are needed in manufacturing, especially in your three businesses? What does that look like, or what are future skills that someone could get from your business in manufacturing?
Well, the skill sets vary depending on what the manufacturing is. Obviously, for Kennon, for instance, we do a good bit of engineering. So we're looking for very technical skills in certain areas. That's to support some of the SBIR work and the government-funded contract work that we perform. But it's also to develop new products internally for our own customers that we're meeting a need that they have or that they've identified. So there's the kind of technical development piece on the front end, but then the ability to, repeatably produce a product with high quality in quantity is really something that's important. So, the skill set there on the production or manufacturing floor is typically, we're looking for somebody who, one, wants to accomplish something through the day, and that's something that is very tangible. Within manufacturing, you're getting something done. Folks that are working with their hands, ready to learn, and a lot of problem solving. So the problem solving doesn't just happen on the front end when we're developing something new. It's often having to figure things out on the manufacturing production floor day in and day out.
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Having that creative mind of wanting to manufacture something's important, and a lot of ours is the hands-on work. We are welders and machinists and those people capable of working with the machinery. So that takes a very high skill set. We do try to tout that we are a fabrication facility, custom fabrication, and that we do precision machining. So
sure.
People have to take pride in what they do. They've got to either have the education and along with that the desire and the experience to be able to do that.
How does someone get those technical skills in your guys' experience?
Well, again, from our side, we train a lot in-house. We do a lot of sewing, and there are some folks that out there that sew in their home as a hobby and whatnot, and we love to find those folks, but that's oftentimes different from what we consider industrial sewing, where it's very repetitive, very precise as far as the techniques that are used. So we have a pretty extensive training program in-house. Oftentimes we're bringing folks in with no training or no sewing capability at all and training them up from the ground up. And they catch on really quick. And
wow.
We've got some great folks inside to be able to do that.
That's awesome.
With our business, and I think it's probably the same a little bit with manufacturing too, in some of the other bigger manufacturers, but it is a lot of hands-on training or on-the-job training. I think that there's a certain amount of skills that you can learn, whether it's welding or machine tooling. And another skill that I think is invaluable is almost like computer programming, because almost every machine that we have is run by a computer, and you have to program it to do what you want it to do. So so you could be a really great welder, but if you don't have really some computer skills, it's going to be really challenging sometimes to work with some of these. But it also is as a curious mindset, or like Chris was saying, just somebody that really wants to take pride and make something at the end of the day, or figure something out. There's not a job that walks through my shop that is ever the same twice. Everything that comes in, it's always different for some reason, and you just got to be one of those people that loves to dig in and figure it out, and then learn from that and keep doing it and growing on top of that.
I think there'll always be, the need for that hands-on work, and there are those people that have the God-given talent sometimes to weld or to produce those things. But others have to go through the process of either an education or through an apprentice or an internship. But as Nadine said, though, it's rapidly approaching. It's here, and it just as things evolve, the computer is going to continue to take over more and more of that. Rather, it's knowing how to operate that, to be able to pull prints, read the prints, robotic arms, all these other things that are coming into place. It's the skill to be able to use the electronics and the computers is. more and more important.
Yeah, as it keeps going. Yeah, absolutely. So would you guys all say that your business is, at a certain degree, somebody could, if you guys are looking for the work and they fit the personality, they could get the on-job training and then have potential to have a career growth in your company or in that field, I should say?
Absolutely. And, we talked about, computers and some of the technology, and, that's a given anymore. And, generally speaking, that's a tool, so understanding how to use the tool, how to leverage it most efficiently and most effectively, that's important. So for folks that are open-minded, willing to learn, there's always that opportunity to really grow within manufacturing organizations.
Anybody?
Sorry, Chris, I didn't talk over you, and I may be putting words in your mouth, so feel free to shut me down on this one. But if I'm not mistaken, the Craftco, and I'm not sure about Kennon, but I think EMIT and some of the other places that utilize machine tool equipment and welding equipment have opportunities to, if you're willing to work and you want to learn, that they may pay for the college or help you with getting some certificates through the college. And our college has some of the best machine tool and welding facilities for teaching purposes in the country. So there's a lot of opportunity there. You don't have to be a welder to come work at some of these places, but if you are interested in it, there's really ways to get those skills.
Yeah. To answer your question, give me a person that has a willingness to work, and we'll teach them.
Yeah.
There's enough usually within our organizations, whether it's something on the engineering, the design, if it's physically welding or whatever it may be, someone has a desire to work,
You'll find a spot for them. Yeah.
And thank you, Nadine, I'm going to put a little plug. We call it the Earn As You Learn. And this is I believe it's our 6th year that we've offered that. And basically it's 2 years paid tuition at the Sheridan College for those that are interested in some type of a trade degree, welding, machining, or some of the top in those. And so along with that, they're given the opportunity to work through their schedule at school, on the weekends, and during the summer as well.
Huh.
So
that's awesome.
Yeah. It serves several purposes, and one of them is the long term is that, we're building that person to where, they would be, an asset to Craftco for years to come. And it gives them the opportunity to learn. It takes both. You've got to have the desire, you got to have the education, and at some point you have to have the opportunity to learn the skill.
Yeah.
So we're hoping that through that, we can develop that.
Yeah, develop that. That's awesome. Man, you guys are kind of answering all these questions on here. Let's keep it on this side. This is, I think, I'm curious to hear from you guys. What is a CNC machine? And we kind of hit on how somebody could acquire the skills of that, but I think let's go through that real quick. Like, what is a CNC machine if no one's ever seen one or know what that is?
To my knowledge, there is not a CNC machine in one of the manufacturing facilities in town because I have tried to find one.
There are.
There are. Okay, well, they're hard. I'm sure you guys have one, but I'll let you guys answer it. But from a sign perspective, the CNC machine is usually a huge table that can cut out shapes out of plywood, out of plastic, thinner materials, even things like that. So it's usually run by a computer, and it's big, it's huge. It wouldn't fit in this room most likely, but. And it usually, I think, uses a blade, right? But
it's broad.
It's broad. There's plasma cutters and water cutters. I know that Craftco has water cutters that cut metal. So it's basically a tool for cutting large pieces of substrate into shapes.
It's not unique to just an industry or to a machine. CNC is what computer numeric controlled machine.
Gotcha.
And so we have several within ours. We have lathes, mills, and cutting devices and whatnot. I'm guessing Kennon probably has it.
So we have 3D printers. We have cutting tables similar to what you described with plywood.
So it's nothing more than a computer-controlled machine in all sense of the word. And so that's
awesome.
That's what CNC is. And so,
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I always thought the CNC machines were just more for cutting, that we're not using like water lasers, that they were blade type ones. But,
And they can be.
and I think that probably just was what they initially were.
Yeah, it's back to that basic CNC definition, computer numerically controlled. The computer is controlling a certain tool path, and that tool might be a blade, it might be a cutter, it might be a drill on a lathe,
needle.
It may be a needle. Yeah,
Gotcha.
Or a laser.
yeah.
Could be a lot of things.
Fantastic. So, and we kind of already hit on it, but I mean, Craftco's got a great, the earn as you learn. But how could somebody acquire more, skills to run those kinds of machines? And it sounds like it's a wide range. So we kind of hit on just got to kind of know computers and computer programming. But is there any thing that businesses around here offer or the college offers to acquire those skills?
Yeah, so there's an opportunity. The high school offers some opportunity, basic exposure to those things. So just to have an initial understanding and peek into the technology, and then obviously the school has a great program for training those very specialized skills and whatnot. And then generally speaking, there are open houses from time to time, different tour opportunities for folks to kind of peek in the doors and see what's happening and how these pieces of equipment and the tools really work.
Mm-hmm.
I'll put the plug in for the high school. We work directly with them with that scholarship, and they've got a good program. Mm-hmm. As Nate said, it's basically just enough to whet their appetite, but it gets them thinking about what they want. But there's plenty of opportunities. Nate recognized them all or identified them all. Either through the open house, through apprentice programs, through starting the high school, the college. So
Yeah.
it's got to start somewhere. They either got to gain the education, or they've got to find an opportunity through an organization that's going to allow them to hire and to gain that skill.
Yeah. Well, this leads me right into the next question, right? I'm a younger guy. I work with high school kids. So their question's going to be to you guys. Okay, that sounds great, but my dad's been in, the coal mine for 30 years, and I know he gets paid really well and he's got great benefits. Why would I why would I acquire skills in the manufacturing side? So what's the salary roughly, or what's kind of the benefits of being a manufacturing employee?
Well, we certainly hear around here, one of the benefits is during the wintertime, you get to work indoors. So that's, that
there you
can
go.
be an advantage. But there's the stability, with coal, oil, the mineral industries and whatnot. That's not always, but oftentimes an up and down industry. It's been an important industry for Wyoming. It continues to be, but there are peaks and valleys, and manufacturing generally is very stable, depending upon the economy, depending upon the business, obviously. But manufacturing jobs tend to be quite stable. As far as wages, salaries, I can speak from Kennon's side. We typically start folks in the $15 to $16 range, and on average, folks are in the $18, $19, $20 range, and I think that's fairly common and typical for the local industry here. That doesn't necessarily compete directly with the mines or the oil fields and whatnot, but it's stable work, it's steady. There are benefits involved in that, typically health insurance. So there's a lot to offer. As far as the overall wage and salary, it's not always directly competitive, but we certainly don't deal with the peaks and valleys that those other industries oftentimes have to deal with.
Absolutely. Well, and those are physical jobs, like you said.
Very much so.
You're inside. You're not having to drive 2.5 hours out and get to work. So, Nadine, Chris?
Yeah, because in our industry, if we're looking on the manufacturing side, we aren't utilizing the tools like we could use CNC machines, but we aren't really utilizing tools like welding and things like that. So our salaries probably don't go quite as high as that, but we are still starting our people in that same range that Nate's talking about, and probably those ranges are still would be probably our averages. But it's the same sort of thing. You're working for a small business, so you have to remember that sometimes smaller businesses businesses, and in our case, a family-owned business, that sometimes benefits and things like that are challenging. So, and I speak from some of those other smaller manufacturers that maybe aren't, bigger owned, that there may be some benefits there, but there is usually stability. There's plenty of work. It's rewarding work. The other thing that you think about with the coal mines is that a lot of those positions are usually skilled positions as well. And so if you're talking about mechanics or, they employ welders and some of those sort of positions like that. So it wouldn't be any different than working for some of those sort of places, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
And the skills are very transferable. So, that's the other thing. If you're a welder in Sheridan, Wyoming, you could be a welder anywhere if you decided that you wanted to move or needed to move or something like that. So.
Yeah, that's a really important point. I mean, the skill sets are very, very transferable into manufacturing. And, if it's not directly transferable, then those folks that are out there, they know how to work. They're ready to learn. And in my experience, they pick it up very, very quickly.
Right.
So.
The satisfaction of finding that you've completed a project. Mm-hmm. That's one thing that I think manufacturing offers.
Yep.
That some of the other industries we've talked about. Nate's described, the slippery slope of mining and of oil and gas, and whole nother subject there. But the stability we bring, working environment, wages will never compete on that level. Don't really want to get into that. We start a little higher. Welders and machinists normally command just a little bit more than that. So. But, I believe we're competitive with what comparable companies in the area are paying there too. Mm-hmm. And, we try to make it, you want to make it well, I want to say this, satisfactory for the employee. I mean, they've got to make a living, so we offer those benefits as well that help with that, the health, the dental, the vision, the retirement, paid time off, vacation and things like that. So we try to, we add that to that, to be able to provide them a certain lifestyle and be able to compete in the market as well.
Yeah. Well, and you guys hit on some really great things. There's, I think if you're working for like a small business, there's probably flexibility and, hours and, going off and doing other things if you want. Probably same with Kennon and Craftco. But there's the satisfaction of finishing an actual product. Like you were just talking about that trailer you guys made. That probably made the company and the team feel very satisfied and proud of what you guys made. And I would imagine with Kennon too. So there's that side of it that in other industries you don't get because there's not really that physical product. But I think stability is important. I think, compared to, compensation, yeah, people always want to chase money, but sometimes it's, if you're wanting to raise a family or something here and you want to stay here, stability is highly important. So no, that was great answers. That does lead me into a question of, you guys, what kind of we think is the outlook for manufacturing? And it could be specifically your guys' business or just in general, the 5-10 year outlook, and maybe it's Sheridan County. One thing I keep having in my mind is that gentleman from, I don't know where he's from, Pennsylvania or whatever, that he's supposedly going to bring that car manufacturer here. I would imagine that helps everybody, manufacturers, but would like to kind of hear your guys' input on what the next 5-10 years may be looking like.
Well, I think generally on the manufacturing front, it looks very promising, especially for Sheridan County and surrounding areas. It's we've got a great core of manufacturers here, and the more that we have, the more supportive and beneficial for the industry that it is. There's an opportunity to share ideas, sometimes share resources. There's some competition in that, obviously, for employees and workforce and whatnot. But I think here it's great because the manufacturers, we know each other. We know that we're competing in certain areas, but we're not directly competing on the product side. So there's an opportunity to help one another, to partner sometimes with one another. And, that's from, kind of the more basic level manufacturing to the higher end light manufacturing. There's an opportunity to share best practices, and that's just great for the industry. So I see that continuing to grow and expand.
I think that manufacturing in the next 5-10 years in Sheridan County is also, I just think it's going to continue to grow. I think the more people know about it or think about it, and the more entrepreneurial people that we have that want to start creating their own things, I think that's going to just keep growing, and hopefully we'll attract some other companies here that can help. It's sort of one of the things, it's a chicken and an egg sort of thing. You bring people in, you don't have housing, but you got to have the people to bring the money in to build the housing. It's a really hard sort of thing. But the more the developed that we get as an industry and as an economy, the better the wages are going to be that we're going to be able to offer. We need a bigger labor force. We need a bigger pool for labor, and of course that means they need housing. I think that the more manufacturers that we start to attract, the better it's going to be that we can start combining logistics. I mean, we have transportation issues, we have supply chain issues, all those sort of things. So it's really hard sometimes to get things to Sheridan, Wyoming, because you're ordering a small amount of stuff. But if we can start figuring out ways to combine that, and then the last thing I just want to mention from the computer standpoint or computer science standpoint is there's a huge, it's going to be happening a lot, and there's going to be a need for it, but it's automation, and a lot of that automation is going to be innovative. I think there's going to be people that are going to be taking machines that do a repetitive process and programming them to automate it. We're going to have to, because our labor, pool is so small. So we're going to, our need for product is bigger than what the people that we have to do it and the hours in the day that we have to do it. And so automation, I think, is going to be a huge, is going to be taking off. And we're already using it. But I mean, even things like automating your order intake process, some of that sort of stuff that never touches a machine, just can you automate that, is really the next big phase, I think, that we're going to be seeing in manufacturing.
Sure.
I'll just touch on the automation piece, because I think that's an important point that you brought up. It's not to replace the workforce; it's to supplement and support the workforce. So, as Nadine mentioned, those very repetitive operations that maybe that repetitive operation causes somebody to be prone to injury. Great opportunity for automation to take that safety factor out and allow that employee or that worker to do something else and use their skills in a different way that is not so mundane and repetitive. Mm-hmm. So automation is always something that really supplements and rather than supplants the workforce, and really helps to build efficiency in manufacturing in a lot of different areas.
I always try to explain that to people, because people will say, oh, well, you're trying to replace, like the checkouts at Walmart, you're trying to replace the cashiers. No, really what we're doing is we're just, giving the cashiers the opportunity to go do other things. We're trying to increase production, not decrease staff, is really what we're trying to do.
Chris, anything to add on that one?
I just have to agree. I think the potential is just huge here, and I think there's a lot that plays into that. You have to take, in fact, just the geographical setting here, right here at the base of the mountains. That attracts people that are wanting to leave big cities, looking for different places. We were talking earlier about Spearfish, Sheridan. I mean, the beauty of living here. Mm-hmm. So that's great, and that's an asset. The infrastructure is something we're going to have to work through, and it's going to be a hurdle. The housing in Sheridan is a huge challenge. It is right now. We're faced with that right now. We're living that struggle. The cost of living, as it continues to rise, as people are giving serious thought to that. And even statewide, you brought up transportation. I think that's something that we got to be considering or be looking at. Communication, you talk about automation. We got to be able to have the speed of be able to do that, whether it's, and I'm no expert in that, but whether it's fiber optic or whatever it does, but we're going to need some help as far as that goes. But I think we're poised well, and I think there's you have to attribute to, I think, the expansion of Kennon with that, the Weatherby building, Vacutech, and then other people that have invested in this community, and they see the healthy environment that it is, and that in itself, I think, will help bring more opportunities here too.
Yeah, absolutely.
The need is there. It's just a matter if we can continue to grow that here in Sheridan.
Right. And that takes, like you said, it takes that North End Business Park. That took a lot of different people and a lot of different organizations to come together and get that together. No, that was great. That was well said. I think we hit on everything. My biggest notes are you guys hit on, I think like computer skills, computer technical skills, those will be very important jobs that necessarily might not be considered manufacturing, but as more automation comes and more machines, with those skills, all your businesses are going to need someone with those types of skills. We talked about, transportation logistics, that's going to have to grow, infrastructure. So as manufacturing grows, we've hit on housing a lot. I mean, kind of other industries will grow as manufacturing grows. So that's great to hear for Sheridan County. I do want all of you to have the last little bit here. Again, our topic is why manufacturing, success and opportunity. So in regards to your guys' businesses or your careers, why should somebody pick manufacturing for maybe a future career, or kind of why should Sheridan County continue to promote our light manufacturing? So I'll let each of you kind of have your little bit here.
I'll start. I think that the biggest thing I see about all manufacturing, it really doesn't matter what it is. It's at the end of the day, you're solving a problem. It's some sort of problem solving activity. And that's really rewarding. It's very cerebral. A lot of people really like that. And I think that if you are the type of person who likes to solve problems or be solutions oriented, then you should look at some sort of job as manufacturing. That's the first thing. The second thing is you're probably already involved in manufacturing and don't really know it. So you already are. And if you start thinking of your job or your business as a, maybe on the verge of manufacturing and start looking at it more that way, I think that you can find that you'll be able to even grow and innovate more within your own business.
Awesome. Chris, Nate?
Go ahead, Chris. I'll steal your answer afterwards.
A lot of the points that we've already talked about, but the stability that it brings to the community and to your lifestyle. I continually hit on the fact of the satisfaction that you find from creating something, building something. Nadine hit on all those things, and I think those are skills that they use each and every day, and those are the ones we're looking at. Those that are innovative thinkers, those that are interested in computer automation, those that have the ability to work with their hands, all those things, and they'll use those each and every day, all day long. So
I will steal part of your answer. I think that, satisfaction of a job well done, being able to take something, not from nothing, but be able to convert that raw material to something very, very tangible. There's a lot of satisfaction in that. And, on the engineering side or the front end, development, being able to take a rough idea and, over weeks, months, perhaps even years, making that into something very exciting, and that might be a trailer, it might be a drive shaft that hours before was a billet of steel or a rod of steel. So being able to really see that, and that's something that happens on a daily basis. And there are days where you go home and you wonder, what did I accomplish? But for the most part, it's really very, very tangible that I did something today.
Right.
So.
Awesome. Those are all wonderful answers. So want to give every business a plug here. So Alphagraphics of Sheridan, Nadine, thank you for stopping by. Where's the new building going to be?
1226 North Main.
North Main. So still on North Main.
Still on North Main. It's actually the building that Social Security is in. They'll still continue to be in there. We're going to be in the front half of the building and starting some renovations. But we don't close till tomorrow, and you never know what happens. So,
fingers crossed.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Chris, Craftco is still up by the airport in the business park there, correct? Awesome. And then Kennon, Nate, Kennon is now in the north end. Is that called the business park too? Maybe I should. Did I just double say? Okay, so the North End Business Park, right next to Weatherby.
Between Weatherby and Vacu
Tech. all of you probably post job postings on your guys' own pages and social media, I would guess, if people are ever interested.
The chamber site.
Chamber, yep, the Sheridan
and
Chamber.
Wyoming at Work also is one that we've posted on.
Awesome. And then, like Chris mentioned, like Craftco's got the Earn As You Learn, so you just hit those guys up and ask about that. But did I miss anything? I think we're good.
Well, again, I might be putting words in your guys' mouth, but if anybody was interested, like you said, I know Craftco and Kennon, Vacutech, and Weatherby occasionally have tours. If they don't have one, you just want to see their operation, I would consider, if somebody was really interested in a career there, you could certainly, I think, reach out and see when they might be offering another tour of some type.
Absolutely. Go check out all their machines and what they do.
There might even be videos online somewhere that might have some. I know the chamber.
Yeah, we put those together. A lot of them were put together last year, but they're still available.
Yeah, so on the chamber's YouTube page, there's, I think, 13 or 14 videos of different manufacturers in town that kind of highlight what they do. So there's a lot of opportunity out there to find out more about these manufacturers in town.
Perfect.
The door's always open.
Yep.
Large groups, we prefer a little notice. We actually have a group from Buffalo High School coming in tomorrow.
Awesome.
So, but you're always welcome to stop in, and we'll take the time and visit with you and show you around.
Awesome. Well, Nate, Chris, Nadine, thanks for stopping by. And again, this was brought to you by the Sheridan County Chamber of Commerce and Manufacturing Works in recognition of National Manufacturing Day. So thank you for stopping by.
Thank you very much.
Our pleasure.